the next level. Also, I want to point out, like, Javi has tried multiple times. Like, I think it's no secret most people just straight up don't like fighting versus Maister's character of choice, which is normally it's Game & Watch, but this time around we are seeing a very, very different character in the screen, and it's one that I think that you are very happy to see. What do you think about this Sora, man?
I'm actually very fond to this Sora, and what I've been seeing so far from Maister of Sora is actually quite different from the way he plays with Game & Watch. Usually, we know Maister is sort of a bait and punish player. He usually is trying to lure his opponents to do whatever he wants them to do in order for him to punish them. But there's an actual, factual, tangible difference with the Sora. Instead, I've seen Maister going aggressive on his opponents every single time in a way that is actually not meant to play like that. You know what I'm trying to say? It's Sora, the way that he works and the way that he's designed, usually it's not meant for him to interact with the opponents, and Maister just goes for it. Every single time I see Maister proposing something within the neutral, even though he's got advantage, and it keeps working because he already has fundamentals to do so.
Yeah, like, really, I think people don't give, as Javi takes this first stock to even things out. But really quick, I really want to point out, I think people don't give Maister enough credit for the type of player that he is. And maybe showcasing with different characters will help people see actually what you were talking about that. But talking about the styles difference, Javi, much more so a fundamental player, a very patient player, I would say. So, ironically enough, I think Roy very much hits every spot for him. I mean, it has the right amount of technical play, as we've seen with those wave bounce side Bs. He has like the simplicity, and he has the speed to be able to abuse that reaction with the punish style that Javi likes so much. And so far, so good for him, especially after taking that stuff with a 4 tilt.
And the one thing that I want to point out is the fact that even though Maister is actually going wild and crazy with the Sora, one thing for sure that you can notice whenever you see one of them on set is the fact that one of their biggest weaknesses is the fact that they cannot get in once they are out. What do I mean by that? Their disadvantage state is actually quite bad. Even though you can recover with Sora from anywhere, once you have lost the advantage, you cannot recover from that unless they give you like a big opening. And that's one thing that we know Javier Barreras knows how to exploit.
Yeah, Javier el Humilde, they call him. No, right? He knows how to exploit that type of wings that you were mentioning earlier as an excellent recovery from top at the upper, not closing it out. Javi, let's see if he can milk this rage for all it's worth. Maister, though, trying for those confirms. I like that, though. Both the Fur 1 and the Nair confirms into the up B could be very fundamental for Sora to take the stocks at this point, and even Sonic Blade there, like, helping him establish some semblance of control. However, this is already way past the percent where Sora is going to feel comfortable versus a Roy with this much rage.
One thing for sure is I have been noticing that Maister actually knows what to do whenever he's on advantage, but at the disadvantage edge, he just goes for the wildest options. He tried to use things out of shield, even though he was Javi was actually blasting shield. He tried to go for the counter when Javi just rushed him all the way to his front. I'm not entirely sure if Maister can actually handle Sora against Javi specifically, not because Maister lacks something, but because Javi has to offer something that Sora actually struggles against, and that's exactly the disadvantage I was talking about. So, of course, Maister knows where he lands, knows where he stands, and he wants to win, so he doesn't have to, he actually doesn't have to rely on anything else than the good old reliable Game & Watch if he actually has the hand on it.
I mean, this is what has brought him to take the reins of Mexico City's finest players, right? Like, he has been very dominant in Mexico City for quite a while now because, like, since Leo doesn't really show up to locals that much, like, Maister, on the other hand, like, has been holding it down for the boys that go overseas, right? Like, he has been keeping everybody in check as far as, yeah, you have to remember, I'm the top player here. So, I mean, Maister trying to prove that same quality. But Javi, one of the main contenders, and I mean, for forever, he's been close. I think that earlier with the Lucina, he's made some very valiant efforts as far as to try to close the gap between him and Maister in Ultimate. But maybe the Roy is the right answer so far. I mean, Maister is still with the lead, but we've seen, like, the more the meta progresses, and I feel like at the beginning, Maister was able to catch a lot of people off guard outside, even in Mexico City, right? Like, he has a lot of trixies, but I think that as far as things go now, people are starting to actually wait out most of Game & Watch's options, and you see Maister try to go for these kills at percents that feel very, very ridiculous. Like, this is a character that you have to respect a lot, and if you do, it's very unlikely that you're actually gonna miss a stock like just like that for free, because Maister doesn't actually go for the like 9 or crazy options that often. So here, even though he's taken the lead, I wouldn't be so surprised to see if Javi manages to keep the composure back. Yeah, like he could make it back, but at this point, it's looking very, very difficult just because of how oppressive Maister is being.
Yeah, I'm totally 100% agreeing with you. The fact that it's been almost 3 years and a half since Smash Ultimate came out, we already know that these players, these professional players, by this time, they should know when to not engage with Game & Watch whenever he's on Shield. So, of course, that's what Javier is actually showcasing us. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a Game & Watch. It's still a top tier, high tier for whatever reason that you want to name it. There's a lot of discussion about that, including the current DLCs and all that stuff that came up afterwards. But Game & Watch is still a solid pick. So even though you know how to counterplay it, it doesn't exactly or doesn't necessarily transfer into Game & Watch being weak or of any sort. He still has a lot to offer, he still has a lot to carry on, and a lot to juggle, and of course he's showcasing that once again, taking Javi all the way to 84, and that's it! That's the clip! That's the clip that comes from Maister's clutch!
Chill out, man! There was no need, you guys are friends! Holy cow! That is the type of stuff that you fight over at dinner, you know? Like, if you're with family or something like that, like, goddamn, like, that was rude. That was rude. I mean, these guys are friends, of course. I'm kidding, but look at that. Like, that is gotta be a little discouraging here for Javi. But I have to say, like, I think
that was actually sucker punchy.
Yeah, I think he can readjust to that. He's sticking out with Roy. I think he's testing waters. I don't know if these guys have been playing much friendlies as of recent, but I mean, they've played so many sets and they know so well as players that, well, Maister actually is going to have to force some new stuff, I feel like, every time he fights a player in Mexico, or at least the top players, just because of what we were talking about. Like, these players have had like 3+ years to actually adjust to what Maister is doing. And even though like the pockets are very deep, right? The Trixies are very... They go very far for Mr. Game & Watch. However, it's not like they cannot be avoided or they cannot be dealt with. So let's see if Javi can remember the game plan here versus Mr. Game & Watch, which basically is patience and discipline, mainly discipline, knowing when to engage with this character, or if Maister is able to brute force his way in because of how we were talking about earlier, like the type of player that he is.
And somehow Javi actually makes it back, even though Maister had the perfect spacing to actually grab him whenever Javi decided to roll in. He somehow, I think, either mistimed it or was actually misspaced by a few pixels. Even though Javi made it back and knows how to handle this pressure that comes from Maister's on the ledge, I don't think that he actually has found himself or his footing so far. I've seen Javi spend most of the game outside of Maister's range in the middle. Like the total stage control is on Maister's side. He's just waiting for Javi to come in. He doesn't exactly rely or give in his position. He just waits for Javi to actually commit to something, and that's exactly what Javi's mistake been so far, at least on this game number 3.
Like, the thing with the Maister is just, he's also very good at sniffing out that type of option that Javi will try to go to bait him out, or like to, for example, the ultimates that connected earlier. Like, Maister is just so confident in throwing it out, not only because it's hard to punish, but also because he knows Javi and the type of options that you are going to try to take into the air. You're going to try to roll, as we just saw. And there, Javi is definitely, like, even though at the beginning he was very committed, it felt like, to not interact with some of these options from Mr. Game & Watch. Like, right now, he's just falling all over Maister's trap and just throwing himself at that shield, and that is exactly the situation that you want to avoid, because that is where Maister makes his money. And as we are seeing here, even though he's at 100% and Roy does have a ton of kill power, it feels like it's going to take forever for Javi to actually get something going.
One thing for sure is that I've been noticing is the fact that even though Roy, we already know how he breaks up the neutral. He's known to be able to rush in against their opponents, but one thing for sure that I have been noticing is the fact that he cannot keep the control of the stage. Even though he has so many options to rush in, he doesn't have that many options to wall out, and that's something that Maister has been going on and on, taking advantage of. Is the fact that Roy doesn't have much out of shield to actually take cover.
What?
And taking the stock with that downer makes a statement against Javi, and this game number 3 is looking quite grimy for Javi.
It is looking tough indeed, my man Fear. Like, here he's got to get the combo, the standard tax that you have to pay when you are facing versus Mr. Game & Watch. And Javi once again not respecting. This is the second time that he falls for it, actually getting that up B out of shield this time around at the anti-air. Like, that is being tech that we didn't used to see before from Roy, but it's actually quite good because of the starting frames that it has and the protection that it offers.
Yeah,
but here, Maister, just going through that comfort zone that Roy does have, even though he's sortie like that, Turtle can break into the sword, into the part where the sword has pretty much runs out of range, right? So if Javi is not careful with it, he is gonna get poked constantly and interrupting the recovery. Here, this could be curtains, and Maister is gonna go for it this time around. The downer didn't connect, but it is again just looking so dominant for Maister here. It doesn't matter how many sponsors Javi has if he cannot get this last game. I mean, Maister playing very clean, which I feel like he's been a little down on himself for the way that he's been playing as of recent. But, I mean, let's not forget, this man is a world-class, like, top 5, top 10 caliber player in the entire world, right? So, like, Javi has to come clean if he is facing the Maister that is showing himself on screen right now. So, I'm, like, torn, of course, because both of these guys are my friends, but at the same time is like the adaptation from Javi, or is it gonna be like just the raw willpower almost feels like that Maister is bringing to the table?
That's actually something that comes up. It's a perk that comes by being friends with the top players. Eventually, you're just gonna see them brawl against each other, and you won't be able to actually pick out who are you gonna root for. You know, I think I understand that feeling, and of course, I understand the sadness that goes with your heart, the fact that you are not able to root for any of them specifically.
Yeah.
But of course, I actually understand that thrive of looking at them so far up the bracket, looking at them shine and go through, and of course waiting and rooting for them to go as further as they can. So far it looks like Maister is the one that's gonna get the upper hand, but this change to Pyra and Mythra could mean something entirely different, as we have seen time after time that Pyra and Mythra are an unstoppable force in the right hands.
Yeah, and Javi has also been working, like, a couple of the characters that he has been working on are definitely the Roy, which I got a little I got a little surprised by, and the Pyra and Mythra, which feels very natural for him, like just a sortie, fast and strong. I mean, that is pretty much right up Javi's alley. So let's see if he can get something going this time around, because the Roy wasn't looking bad, but I mean the discipline, like I'm telling you, maybe it's not the character, it's just a matter of play styles here. Javi managing to avoid that tomahawk, and very well on the cusp of getting this stock and not getting too heavily punished, but still no easy task to go back into the ground versus Mr. Game & Watch. And now, he very, very good decision there with the
That was a very risky option too.
Yeah, it was. And here, like, this is what I was talking about. Like, Maister, you are going to see him to actually have to commit to an option, or just pray to catch his opponent off guard, which is exactly what happened right there.
You gotta time that bomb out quite well. You cannot just change in front of it and expect it not to explode. This is, let's keep talking, not exploding. And sadly, it is looking like Javi is just not gonna burst the bubble as we have expected him to do so far. That's gonna be a gentleman's grab. That's not gonna be enough. It still changes back to Pyra as he notices that he still has a job to finish on this first that comes from Maister. Sadly, we're gonna reset back to neutral. They're just gonna take their time to step in and stay, are trying to measure whenever it's the right time to get in, and that's gonna be an edge guard. I mean, a ledge trap coming from Javi.
Yeah, like Pyra's already strong by ledge, but versus Mr. Game & Watch, it feels very daunting because it completely arranges like normally. Like Game & Watch's aerials are pretty egregious as far as size goes, but like Pyra's forward tilt just manages to outspace, or even the up tilt to cover the roll in, right? Of course, it's not easy to react to that, but still, like Javi getting that punish, and he should be gone. He got caught with that, the tail end of that move, the chair. Le pegó con la silla, and that is it for him. Javi's gonna have to play perfect here, but talking about perfect and not so long. It seems like that talk died quite fast as Maister just doesn't seem to be letting on.
Yes, I am 100% in with you. One thing for sure is that even though things doesn't look quite well for Javi, I expect something to change at this point. I believe in him. We have seen time after time that Javi has so much more to offer. He's widely known as one of the best fundamentalist players out in this whole region. But whenever he gets in, the traction that he gets of that momentum, he just somehow manages to punish every single thing that you could actually believe could not be punished. So I think that this doesn't look quite well. He's just gonna go down. That's gonna be a ledge trap. Nothing else against Roy, and they're gonna just grab back and try to reset this situation.
I mean, Javi looking clean for the last couple of minutes, but maybe too little too late, as that 127% is not going to be an easy hurdle to overcome versus Maister here. Perhaps some top platform control on the side of Javi, and he chooses to play fully reactive, which is something that Mythra can actually do, and he is not even going to try to overextend, just lets Maister throw out those aerials. Oh, that bump. Very important also, like how to deal with that bump. We saw Javi earlier try to go for the jump, directly intercepted when he was playing Roy. Let's see if he can do exactly the same, because shielding that move is definitely not the option, and I mean, he is playing so much cleaner now, but the question still remains in the air. Is he gonna get the last read that he needs? Or is Maister finally gonna find the percent at which the grab is going to kill, which at that point, I mean, things become pretty much impossible. And look at that, talk about impossible, no recovery chance right there. Maister completely interrupting whatever hope that Mythra had of coming back into the stage, as Maister punches his ticket straight into the grand finals. Javi gonna fall into the loser's bracket here, and he is going to be facing like either Nair or Cloudy, which I think already played in this tournament. But I mean, it never hurts to see one of Mexico City's classic matchups.
Yes, one thing for sure, I was actually starting to believe that Javi could actually make it back on this fourth game. The way that Javi started to download how to handle Meister around, how to not interact, but while actually interacting. I mean, in a sort of a bait and punish sort of game, I started to feel like possibly if Javi makes it back from the loser's bracket, actually gets back all the way to grand finals against Meister once again, there might be a solid chance that Javi at least takes a set against Meister. And I say that at least because even though they're top class players, of course, there's this underdog chemistry going on between them, because you know the results speak for themselves.
Well, I mean, Javi is definitely the underdog in this division. And look at that play again.
That was nasty.
That was just something
that was just nasty.
Yeah, something that Maister, I think like he forgot that he was playing tournament. He was like, yeah, this is a lead. I don't care. I can just style in these fools. But it turns out that Javi got the worst end of that. And again, it